కృపావార్త కార్యక్రమమునకు స్వాగతం. నేటి ధ్యానాంశము ప్రేమ, లవ్. When we hear evangelicals, the evangelist, opening the sermon on the theme love, what comes to the mind of the church audience in general? Obviously, John chapter 3 verse 16. యోహాను సువార్త 3వ అధ్యాయము 16వ వచనము. Because this is the one single verse from the Holy Bible that has been translated into almost all the languages on the planet Earth. So many languages. But do you know how the languages have originated? Where the languages have originated? Do you know how the earth was divided into parts? Where it has happened? During whose time it has happened? You can find answers to many such historical questions related to human history, questions related to the origin of life on the planet Earth, and many other questions. One can find answers from the Holy Bible. Because the Bible is the Word of God. Because the Bible is Jesus Christ Himself. The definition is very clear who Jesus Christ is. Again, the same apostle of love, John, defined Jesus Christ. Each believer defines Jesus Christ in a very special way, depending on how he was rescued, how he was loved, how he was provided, how he was loved. Each believer has a very, very special encounter with Jesus Christ. The encounter of Paul with Christ is different. The encounter of Peter with Christ is different. The relationship that John, the apostle of love, had with Jesus Christ is different. The encounter of John the Baptist with Jesus Christ is different. Wonderful, isn't it? Very short time, only 3.5 years. Within a very short span of time, Jesus Christ accomplished the will of God. It so happens in our life that we start and we will never complete. This is the problem, particularly with the people of Andhra. There is a proverb in Telugu, Andhruladi Arambha Suratvam. Means the people of Andhra will start with so much enthusiasm, with so much interest. But the same interest and the same enthusiasm will not be retained towards completing the work. This is the problem with the people of Andhra. No offense. The people of a particular geographical region are of similar feathers. Birds of same feathers fly together. So, to start a thing is good, but to complete the thing is the best. కార్యారంభము కంటే కార్యాంతము మేలు. When we initiate a thing, when we start a thing, with the same enthusiasm, we should also finish the thing. And such success is seen in the life of Jesus Christ. And all those that possess Jesus Christ will be very accomplished in their career, in their life, in whatever field they have chosen, in whatever field they choose. And this is called missionary zeal. Missionary zeal is not hereditary, is not contagious. It is because of the grace of Jesus Christ. Special graces were given to certain people, and so they could accomplish great things for Jesus Christ. For example, Paul. From where Paul received the missionary zeal? What is the history of Paul? If we examine the life and history and genealogy of Paul, Paul is an Orthodox Jew, very enthusiastic in preaching the law, in preaching the faith of Judaism. Paul was equally zealous in obstructing the conversion, obstructing the message of Jesus Christ, obstructing the gospel, persecuting the church. This is the history of Paul. So, missionary zeal is not hereditary. What Paul has inherited as heredity is persecuting the church, obstructing the gospel, preventing the advancement of the gospel. This is the hereditary feature of Paul. So missionary zeal is not hereditary. Missionary zeal is not an individual's virtue by what he is. It is only because of the grace of Jesus Christ. The old name of Paul is Shaul. Shaul was persecuting the church. Shaul has taken all the permission letters, authority from the religious leaders of that time to persecute the church, and Paul was advancing to Syria because, surprisingly, in Syria, in a place called Antioch, the very first church originated. Isn't it a surprise? God's deeds are marvelous. God's deeds are wonderful. God's deeds are awesome. That is why Jesus Christ is an awesome God. The first church did not originate in Bethlehem, where Jesus Christ was born. The first church wasn't not planted in Nazareth, where Jesus Christ was brought up. And the first church was not planted in Jerusalem, where many of the miraculous and mighty deeds of Jesus Christ, miracles of Jesus Christ were done. On the contrary, in a small place called Antioch, somewhere in Syria, the first church was planted. Marvelous, isn't it? Such wonderful things are expected if ordinary people chosen by God were to be fervently praying. This is the commandment: pray without ceasing, for the advancement of the work of the Holy Spirit. During these days of tribulation, The Christians, the believers in Jesus Christ, the followers of Jesus Christ should be more patient, should be more persevering in praying. That is why the apostles have declared to the church like this. When there were so many accusations on the apostles by the members of the church, as usual, today also, isn't it? Preachers are considered as worthless these days in the churches by the so-called members of the church, so-called believers. And preachers are a subject of mockery. Preachers are a subject of acquisition. We don't like this preacher, and this preacher has to be transferred from this parish immediately. This is the state of affairs prevailing in the churches, not only in Andhra, in all the states, divide of the geography. We don't like this preacher, and this preacher has to be transferred. ఈ జనులు దురద చెవులు కలిగినటువంటి వారు వారి కొరకు తమకు ఇష్టమైనటువంటి బోధకులను వారు ఏర్పరచుకుందరు. It has already been foretold in the Bible that these people are having ears with itching, and they will choose preachers for themselves. These audience have itching ears, so they will dislike the preachers that admonish them, that discipline them in the fear of God, that hold the stick. Paul was telling to the church, you have many preachers but not many fathers. Do you want me to come with a stick to discipline you? I have heard that so and so things are happening in the church. This is the authority Paul had. ఈ జనులు దురదజవులు కలిగినటువంటి వారు తమ కొరకు తమకు ఇష్టమైనటువంటి బోధకులను ఏర్పరచుకుంటారు. దిస్ ఈస్ ద సాడ్ స్టేట్ ఆఫ్ అఫైర్స్ ప్రివైలింగ్ ఇన్ ద చర్చెస్ టుడే, దట్ the preachers are dictated the terms by the so-called members of the church, especially those that hold the key of the treasury. We are contributing more to the treasury of the church. We are offering more. We are giving the tithes. Which of the members of the church has given donation of 1 lakh for erecting the bell tower? Which of the parish members have given 5 lakh fund for building the wall of the burial ground for the church? Shameless people. నీ ధనము నీతో కూడా నశించును. ఈ కార్యములో నీకు పాలు పంపులు లేవు. Simon, the magician, wanted to buy the gift of Holy Spirit through wealth. Who has given a donation to the church? Who has given the fund to the church? Am I not the one that has donated much fund to the church? Is it not because of me that the burial ground wall for the church has been built? Shameless people. I don't want this preacher. This preacher has to be immediately removed from this parish. Love. These are the politics in the church. Politics are everywhere. Just to say that in these days the preachers are mute spectators. They have no say on the affairs of the church. They have to just observe silently. And the sad state of affairs is because of lack of the power of prayer in the preacher. Edward McKenzie Bounds had the habit of praying early and late. Early in the morning and late in the night, he was found on his knees, irrespective of whether he is in conference or whether he is in the parish or anywhere, like Daniel. Lack of prayer is the reason for the flourishing of all kinds of evil in the church. When the priest is equipped with the prayer, all such murmurings will be subsided. That's what the preachers of the early church did. Similar kind of murmurings were there during the incipient stages of the formation of the church, and this church is now in Jerusalem, and the apostles were told that the foreigners, the widows, and the orphans were neglected in the church, and the preachers, namely the apostles, were accused that they are not considerate, they are not kind, they are not having compassion, they are not having love on the widows, on the foreigners, and on the weaker sections of the church. And the apostles have made it very clear: we give ourselves to prayer and preaching. Because you are very kind, because you are very considerate, because you have very kind heart, because you are all very good people with the heart of charity, we command you, choose for yourself 7 good people, and we will depute them to look over the charity. What a wonderful kind of leadership, decision making. Immediately the apostles did not jump, oh yes, you are very correct, charity is very important, widows should not be neglected, children will not be neglected, the poor should not be neglected, the foreigner should not be neglected, give all the money to us and we will distribute the wealth. We will do the work of collector, we will do the work of tahsildar, we will do the work of police officer, we will do the work of lawyer. We are not for that. Have your wealth with you, have your money with you. Did I ask you to bring your money? Did I ask you to bring your wealth? నీ వెండి నీతో కూడా నశించునుగాక. Your riches will be spoiled with you. You cannot buy the gift of Holy Spirit with your riches. Simon, mind you, గారడివాడైనటువంటి సీమోను అపోస్తలులు చేయించినటువంటి అద్భుత కార్యాలను చూసి, మీరు చేతులుంచగా వ్యాధిగ్రస్తులు స్వస్థత పొందుకుంటూ ఉన్నారు, అపవిత్రాత్మలు పట్టినటువంటి వారు విడుదల పొందుతున్నారు, కాబట్టి మీలో ఉన్నటువంటి పరిశుద్ధాత్మ శక్తి నాకు కూడా కావాలి, మీ పరిశుద్ధాత్మ శక్తిని, దేవుని శక్తిని నాకు ఇవ్వండి అని చెప్పి గారడి విద్య కలిగినటువంటి వాడైనటువంటి సీమోను దేవుని అపోస్తలుని అడిగినప్పుడు, నీ వెండి నీతో కూడా నశించును, నీ మనస్సు సరిగా లేదు కనుక ఈ కార్యంలో నీకు పాలు పంపులు ఎంత మాత్రమూ లేవు, నీ మనస్సును నీ హృదయాన్ని పరిశీలించుకొని చెప్పి గట్టిగా అపోస్తలులు చెప్పారు. వేర్ ఆర్ సచ్ అపోస్టల్స్, వేర్ ఆర్ సచ్ ప్రీచర్స్ నాట్ సెల్లింగ్ ద హోలీ స్పిరిట్, నాట్ సెల్లింగ్ జీసస్ క్రైస్ట్ ఫర్ వెల్త్, లవ్, ప్రేమ. Then the apostles took a decision and asked the members of the church, you are very correct. Probably you may be right that the widows and the children and the weaker sections of the church, the foreigners, might be neglected and they may not be getting the attention they deserve. They may not be provided with the things that they require, the things through charity. So what we do is we give ourselves to prayer and preaching. There is no substitute to prayer and preaching. When prayer and preaching are substituted by charity or any other thing, evil of all kinds will flourish in the church itself. This is not the saying of the preacher. It is the tested truth by the great teachers of the Bible and the preachers of the exterior, namely Edward McHenry Bounds and many others. And the preachers, the apostles, have said to the church, we give ourselves to prayer and preaching. Prayer and preaching should be synonymous to each other. The pulpit and the prayer room should be so close to each other that one should be heard by the other. The sermon and the prayer of the preacher should be heard by each other. Only then the evil or the works of Satan will have no power over the church. The pulpit and the prayer closet should be so close that each one should be heard by one another, the prayer as well as the sermon. Otherwise, there are many satanic hosts, demonic forces that will be present in the church even before the believers, even before the audience arrive. Before the sermon itself, the Satan will send its deputies. My dear Wormwood, today the preacher is the famous Father Pope Francis. Make sure that the soup shall not slip from your fingers. Nothing that Father Pope Francis preachers should go into the heart, mind, soul, and ears of the audience in St. Peter's Square. This is your responsibility, my dear little Wormwood. Do anything by hook or by crook that the sermon of Father Pope Francis should be of no use. This is the conversation between the head devil, senior devil, and the junior devil that happened to be the niece of the senior devil in the place called hell in the diplomatic sections. This is what is called the diplomacy that is happening in Moscow or in Tel Aviv or PA, Palestine Authority. What is happening in these diplomatic circles? My dear little Wormwood, did I not command you? Let the soup not slip from your hands. Massacre. Kill as many as you can. Shed as much blood as you can. Because you know this blood is our drink and the flesh is our food. This is really the conversation in the higher diplomatic sections in a place called hell. This can be only comprehended by the people of prayer like Professor C.S. Lewis or John Bunyan that have been very close to Jesus Christ. I do not know how this conversation has fallen in my hand, and this conversation is from the diplomacy in hell, and the senior devil commands the junior devil, my dear little Wormwood, make sure in the St. Peter's Square today, Father Pope Francis, soon after the Holy Eucharist, will be preaching on the subject love, and he will urge the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, to quickly give orders for ceasefire, stopping all military action on Gaza. Make sure that the sermon will be diluted, the sermon will be misinterpreted, misrepresented, not received by the famous Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. Do anything you want. Use any of the weapons I have given you. By hook or by crook, let the sermon of Father Pope Francis regarding peace should be made empty. These are the conversations in the dark places. So, when the preaching is not heard by prayer from the prayer closet, devil will make the sermon ineffective and the objective of the sermon will be lost through just sleep. My dear little Wormwood, did I not tell that these filthy patients, here patient means it's not literally patient or sick person. Patient means in the diplomacy of hell, the senior devil calls human beings created in the image of God as patients. You know, I tell you the weakness of the patients, our patients, you know, they are very lazy people. They love sleep. They love comfort. If you just offer them a deep sleep. That's sufficient. Why murder when cards are sufficient? Just play cards and enjoy. Just make sure that the sermon will not reach Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. Make him so busy. He should be so busy all through the 24 hours with so many ministers, and there should be also clashes. There should be also hated arguments between the Knesset members and the Prime Minister. The famous Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu should be so much pressurized by his own Knesset members of the Knesset, that there will be rebellion. There will be absolute rebellion, that Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu will not have an opportunity to listen to what Mr. Father Pope Francis says. These are all really the conversations in the hell. If if the audience were to happen to read the book Screwtape Letters, they will know many secret things, many mysterious things that are unheard by human ears. All that we do not hear is not non-existing. For example, very recently, probably in the Science Journal, the researchers from Tel Aviv University have published a beautiful paper based on the sensing of acoustic signals. Acoustic means sound signals from the plants. Plants do respond to conditions of stress and conditions of drought. There are two situations the scientists from Tel Aviv University have created. In one condition, the plants were provided with sufficient water and good environment, healthy environment for their growth. In the another situation, the plants were subjected to drought and some kind of mechanical stress by cutting the stems, by cutting the parts of the plant. These are the kinds of stress the plants have been subjected to. In both the cases, the acoustic signals emanating from the plants have been tested, and there is a clear, distinctly different acoustic signals originating from the plants that are under stress. So, but these signals cannot be heard by our ears, human ears, because the decibels are not within the audible range of human ear. So what all that we do not hear is should not be non-existing to us. The conversations, especially in the hell, in a place called hell, where Satan is active, and the battle between the poor Christian and the Apollyon. And to overcome all these battles and to gain victory and to be successful in your career, in anyone's career, the human beings, the inhabitants of planet Earth created in the image of God, should be guided by the evangelist. There is a beautiful book by name Pilgrim's Progress, written by John Bunyan. And the whole world was astonished when the book Pilgrim's Progress was printed. Of course, these days everybody is writing book and everybody is publishing a book, and publishing books is no difficult task these days. Who has money especially can publish more books. Of course, science can be bought with money, knowledge can be bought with money, and whatnot. So those that have the funding, those that have the money are ruling the science and scientific research, R&D. Likewise, yes, it happens very rarely to the preacher that he loses the connection. It's very rare. Even in teaching, while he was teaching graduate and postgraduate students, even though he goes from Israel to China, China to Korea, and from electrochemistry to analytical chemistry to plant utilities, whatever may be the subject, he will not lose the focus on the main connecting theme. And where are we? We are at Pilgrim's Progress and publishing books. We are talking about that, and in that context, we are telling about the significance of funding. And those that possess money are ruling science and technology. From there, we have come to this point. And going back, in those days, publication of a book is not so easy, and especially for people like John Bunyan, who are underprivileged and who are under so much of surveillance. Of course, such surveillance and restrictions on preaching are there in some nations, unfortunately, where sin grows, grace will also abound. Especially in those days, during the times of John Bunyan, there were severe restrictions on preaching gospel in the United Kingdom. Not on all, but on specific preachers like John Bunyan. Of course, Satan has a clear intention, My dear little wormwood, why are you so much concerned about the preaching of that particular preacher anyway? He's one among them, He's one among us. His preachings are almost of no power. So let him preach. It will be ineffective anyway. He is having no fire. He has got no force of prayer that makes the word of God effective enough to enter into the soul and cause the change, conversion. So let him preach. His preaching is of no use anyway. These are the conversations between the senior devil and the diplomats or deputies in the diplomacy of hell. So there were severe restrictions on the preaching of John Bunyan in those days in UK, and even John Bunyan was imprisoned that he was violating and not aligned with the forces in UK. So he was imprisoned. He was put in prison for the sake of gospel. The walls of prison could not prevent John Bunyan from writing the beautiful book. And the book starts like this: in my dream I dreamt. When he has fallen asleep, even in his sleep, John Bunyan could be blessed to see wonderful visions. Otherwise, how can a person write such beautiful book called Pilgrim's Progress? Whole world was astonished to see such a masterpiece from a layman, from a very, very poor person, almost uneducated. And one of the greatest professors of linguistics, expert in English, Professor C.S. Lewis, belonging to the Magdalen College of Oxford University, writes regarding the work of John Bunyan. He says that whole world was astonished to look at the work of John Bunyan, that is the book called Pilgrim's Progress. How can such a layman write such a masterpiece, bringing so many conversions? And it is the work of God himself. When John Bunyan was imprisoned, even in the prison, John Bunyan was given such revelations, such visions, that John Bunyan could write them and preserve them that will be useful for generations. The preacher was so much blessed that he could prepare audio videos on the particular book called Pilgrim's Progress. Almost all the 2 parts of the book were covered in the audios and videos. Those that are interested can download from the YouTube channel of the preacher and listen to the works of the John Bunyan. Whole world was astonished to look at the work of John Bunyan. And in my dream, I have seen the fierce battle between Christian and Apollyon. We really do not know the kind of battles that each one of us are facing. We see that I am not able to advance, I am not able to prosper, I am not able to do the task that I wanted to do. But behind each failure, there is the hindering, opposing force by Satan. Satan has one thing to do, to disappoint. Again, in the book Pilgrim's Progress, the evangelist was showing to the evangelist was showing to the Christian the armory of Satan. In the armory of the Satan, there are many weapons, and especially there is one old weapon, a sieve, a metal mesh, and the evangelist shows this to the Christian and says, "Do you know what it is?" And the Christian says, "I do not know what it is. This is the great weapon called disappointment. Disappointment. This is the weapon the Satan uses on all the inhabitants of the earth. Each one of us might have been the victim to the weapon of Satan, that is disappointment. So in life, when we are not able to advance, we should never ever get disappointed. Rather, we should turn to Jesus Christ and pray that the obstructions, the hindrances in the spiritual realm be removed, and may the walls of Jericho fall before us, so that we can move forward and reach our promised land, where there is surplus, where there is abundance, where there is joy, where there is perfect freedom, where there is only happiness. Yes. Are you not able to advance in your career? Are you not able to progress? Are you not able to make enough money that is necessary for your children's education, children's needs, for your family, for paying house rent? Yes, it may be so. The Bible is so clear. You can be indeed prosperous when you work diligently. శ్రద్ధ కలిగి పనిచేయవాడు ఐశ్వర్యవంతుడగును. You will really prosper when you take a decision that you will be thankful to God and offer tithes from your salary. Whatever you receive from God, you will offer tithes to the Lord. When you take such decisions in the forthcoming year, God will bless you abundantly. Jacob has taken nothing with him when he is traveling from his father's house to Paran, in a place called Syria, again, as Paul traveled